Hey everybody, I'm Bodhi. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking a traditional Chinese medicine approach to the menstrual cycle. Now, if you haven't already, do me a favor, please hit the subscribe button, hit notification, turn the bells on. Please help the algorithm pick up these videos so I can help more and more people to help themselves. Just a little while ago, I posted to my subscribers, 13,000 of you guys, amazing. It's so amazing that we're growing the way we're growing. It's such a neat thing for me. But I asked people if there was any subjects that they would like covered, and a lot of people messaged me that they wanted to understand a little bit more theory, a little bit more understanding of traditional Chinese medicine and Qigong and how the two work, basically. So I wanted to add a little thing of Ask Bodhi here. You can ask me any questions, and I'm going to do my best to explain things so that you can then apply your Qigong practice a little bit more effectively and efficiently. We don't want to guess. We don't want to just do random things. We want to be specific because we want results. So what we're going to be looking at today is the menstrual cycle and how TCM views the menstrual cycle, traditional Chinese medicine being TCM, and then how we can use our Qigong program to affect change. Now, I shot another video quite a while back, on 5-element theory, and I'll put a link down below so you can go into the full explanation of 5-element theory. We're going to do a brief synopsis of it today. But 5-element theory and 8 principle are the two basic founding philosophical constructs that we use in Chinese medicine to understand pathology, illness, and pathogenesis, how illness moves through the body. And so it's really quite simple. 5 elements would be wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And these correspond to certain organs. And these are the yin organs that we're going to be talking about, being the liver, the heart, the spleen, the lung, and the kidney. And once again, you can go more in depth into our other video, but we're just going to go quick here. Now, we have 2 cycles that we have to be mindful of. First is the generating cycle, or a mother and child relationship. So kidney generates the liver, sorry. Liver generates the heart. Heart generates the spleen. Spleen generates the lung, and lung generates the kidney. So these are a mother and child relationship, mother-child, 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 or the generating cycle. So if child is weak and needs more from mom, she's slowly going to drain mom and make mom weak. But conversely, if mom is weak, she's not going to have enough energy to generate the child, and child's going to be weak. So there's that relationship. But then if we skip generation, kidney controls heart, or water controls fire. This is the controlling cycle, and this would be grandma and grandchild. And then fire, heart, controls lung, which is metal. Metal controls wood. Wood controls earth. Earth controls water. And this is what's called the controlling cycle. And so it's these 2 cycles that give us a very specific and effective way to understand what organs are affected by your current situation, how long the situation has been going on, and how it's moved through the body. And this is why we can be very effective with both understanding pathology, but also then treating pathology, whether we're using acupuncture or whether we're using Qigong, same thing, to help heal the body. So what we're looking at today is, of course, why is my period late was the question. And how can I use my Qigong to help that? So when we look at regulatory functions or developmental functions, developmental patterns or regulatory patterns in the body, there's always one organ, and that's the kidney. The kidney is in charge, rules over developmental patterns, rules over regulatory patterns. So the period, when it comes, kidney's job. But there's also 2 other organs that we also have to keep in mind when it comes to the function, the proper function, the healthful function of your period. And that would be also the liver, and that would also be the spleen. Now, liver moves qi smoothly like the roots of a tree or the branches of a tree. And when qi moves, it moves blood, and then blood nourishes tissue. So the spleen is responsible to transform and transport. Turn the food you eat, the gu qi you eat, turn it into blood and energy, and then move it to the extremities. So this is about qi, this is about qi, but also about blood, and all 3 of these guys work together to make sure that you have a healthy, happy period. Now, what can mess up the functioning of these three organs? Well, we could start with the organ itself that deals with regulation, and so that would be the kidney. Now, we have an emotional side and we have a physiological side. And Chinese medicine specifically looks at both sides because all chronic illness has an emotional component. It's one thing we miss from a Western perspective. Now, the emotional stimulus for the kidney that can create pathology is fear and fright. So something can happen that scares the bejesus out of us, and that's enough to throw off our period. Whether it's early or whether it's late, that's enough. Could just be the emotional stimulation. But it could also be physiological. It could be kidney stones. It could be cancer. It could be a tumor. It could be a urinary tract infection. It can be some kind of pathology, actual physical change in the kidney itself that's then affecting its ability from a vibratory perspective to regulate the functioning of that pattern. So it could be just the kidney. Now, could be the liver. So the liver, the emotional stimulation, and now any strong emotional stimulation injures the liver. But specifically anger, irritability, stress. Anytime our mind is stuck in the past and we're dragging something through life, that can have an effect on the liver's movement of qi. And if that's off, everybody else is off. So it could be strong emotional stimulus. And yes, it could be that fear or fright event that then also causes the liver to be pathological, have problems with it. But it also could be the physiological side. Now, too much alcohol or too much greasy food all affect the liver. So yes, it could be them that's causing it to be in excess. And meaning that all organs can either be in excess, too much energy, or deficiency, too little energy. And really what we're looking at in this cycle is that the liver becomes in excess. And when the liver's in excess, it over-controls, because it controls the spleen on a good day. If it over-controls the spleen, then the spleen gets weak and the spleen moves into deficiency. And if the spleen is weak or deficient, then it can control the kidney properly and the patterns get thrown off. Now, with that being said, let's move down to the spleen. So the spleen, emotional side, overthinking, yi, intention, worry, pensiveness, overthinking, any of these can injure the spleen. So that's why students often get their period thrown out of whack because they're studying. And so they're thinking a great deal. But this could just be you laying in bed thinking too much about what you want to do on the weekend and overthinking about nothing. And that could be enough to weaken the spleen. And so when that happens, once again, we create this relative imbalance where one is deficient, one is in excess, and this can throw things off. So from a physiological perspective, the spleen is also affected by food, and specifically sweet stuff, raw stuff, or greasy stuff. Too much sweet, too much raw, or too much greasy. And when we think of the sweet stuff, this is kind of from a Western perspective, the inflammatories. And we've talked about these many times. Wheat, dairy, corn, soy, processed sugar, 5 inflammatories. These are the guys that mess up our digestive system and lead to a weak earth environment, or the weak earth element. And if that is weak, it can turn food into blood. And if the blood's not there, there's not going to be anything to move. So which organ is specifically affecting you? Is it the emotional side? Is it the physiological side? Could be both. But once again, from a Chinese perspective, we're not treating a disease that you have. We're treating you who specifically has this disease. Versus from a Western perspective, we treat a disease that you have. Everybody gets the same treatment. Whereas in Chinese medicine, each person gets treated differently. And this is going to dictate the Qigong you use to help regulate your system. Now, you could just use 3 different organs, the kidney, the liver, and the spleen. You could use exercises for each of those 3 organs. Absolutely, and that would be very helpful. Or you could tailor it a little bit more to yourself by saying, okay, what's going on with me? Is it emotional or physiological? Emotional, physiological, emotional, physiological. If it is, then maybe we spend a little extra time. If it's a strong emotional stimulus, maybe we spend a little extra time on our liver exercises like Weeping Willow, or from International Institute of Medical Qigong, they have a really great organ cleanse. If it's digestive or overthinking, maybe we spend a little bit more time dealing with the stomach, transforming earth from mindset. There's a million different exercises for tonification and strengthening of digestive tract. Or maybe we just focus on some breath, some long, slow, deep, even diaphragmatic breath to connect our mind back to the present moment so that we're not reeling in the future. Or we could be focusing specifically on the kidney. Once again, from my set, we could be doing falling water, but once again, picking and choosing, and we have a ton of kidney exercises on the channel here that you could pick from. So for you specifically, which organ is the one that you need to do? The reality is we're always looking at interactions and relationships. So my prescription is always to deal with all three. Now there's a great video on this channel again on fertility, and because once again, fertility deals with menstrual cycle, and we deal with the regulation of all of these three. That could be something that you could use very simply to help regulate your menstrual cycle and bring that period back into harmony with the rest of the body. So it is complex, but once again, you have a framework that you can apply to yourself and say, what do I need today and how can I approach it? Like I said, I'll drop a link for the full explanation on 5-element theory. And always, I am here to answer any questions that you have. So share this video, friends, family, anyone who's a little bit confused of why their period is late or early. I will do my best to answer. Thanks for watching, guys.